seems I have a cicada that just entered the chat. Can you hear this?
Yeah, I can actually.
This is wild.
It's not a pleasant time for boomers right now that have large amounts of assets sitting in the stock market. It's just not a good time.
Mental health awareness did not exist for my parents. It is still taboo. They can't even believe that I have a profession that revolves around this in some capacity.
We have to start having those conversations about what they think of in security, what that means, what retirement means, what lifestyle means. Like, we just to start finding out what they think about.
No matter what you're working on in life, whether it's money, health, mindset, business, whatever, like if you're focused just on the problem and you're down in the weeds, it does feel like a very negatively charged experience.
Switch how you're thinking about the problem, so to speak, and switch it to something that is actually going to excite you.
When you begin to make your own thing happen, you've got to develop your own structure, discipline, mindset, just all of it goes in.
We have so much that is out of our comfort zone. And if we choose to then attack it and kind of go at it, good things are going to happen.
Welcome to the Good Life.
Welcome back to the Good Life Visual Audio Podcast. I got Stu here in the building. Say what's up, Stu.
What's up, y'all?
Kobi did not make it back to this joyous occasion here on LinkedIn. He could not make it, but he is with us in spirit. So Kobi would say, what up, though?
What up, though?
And I'm Chris, guys. Hey, we're back diving into how to design your life with extraordinary health, wealth, and mindset. Again, for the podcast, find us everywhere you listen or watch, whether that's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, wherever it is. Go find us. Go give us a like or a thumbs up or leave a comment or a review.
Guys, hey, we're back diving in.
We got another good one for you today, ladies and gentlemen. So we're back. Hey, and we got to give the shout out.
Hey,
he is here. I told you he's with us in spirit. He's heading out. He's heading off to Memphis. Have safe travels, brother, on the way. We're going to hold it down tonight here on LinkedIn for another episode of The Good Life. Stu, how you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great. I'm enjoying figuring out this whole LinkedIn live thing, man. This is a new one for me. So you'll see me kind of fidgeting over here to the left.
But it was time for us to come back, right? It's time for us to come back. So
it was time for sure.
It was.
Sure. So
it was.
It's definitely good to be back, especially with the whole just business entrepreneurship crowd that you really feel from LinkedIn more so than the other platforms.
Absolutely.
So excited to be here, man. How you feeling?
Feeling great, man. Feeling great. Again, episode 67. Those of you that were with us early on the journey, you guys know we were on LinkedIn Live consistently. We popped off the platform. We played around other places. We came back because we wanted to make sure that you guys know that we're here to serve you and serve this market. And we know that LinkedIn has a lot of professionals and people that resonate with what we're talking about. And we want to make sure that you get behind the scene access. So this live recording that you get on LinkedIn, it always is also going to drop every Monday on our podcast on both YouTube and all the places that you listen, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it is that you listen to. All of it's going to be dropping every single Monday. LinkedIn, you guys just get the sneak peek. That's it. You get the sneak peek. So
backstage, VIPs.
That's it. You should feel special, LinkedIn. You should feel special. So into the show we go. We're starting off these shows with client stories. This is something we've added in very quickly to our show because, again, for myself, being on the financial coaching side, for Stu being on the mindset executive coaching side, and then Kobi being on the health coach side, we all have clients. We all have people that we talk to in these respective areas. So we want to share that value with you. So we said, hey, let's start off the show with a client story or just a client takeaway for the week. So Stu, I'll toss it to you, man. What's your takeaway for this week?
So let's see. I think, in light of our topic, the whole kind of just entrepreneur mindship and great resignation later, this is actually pretty close to that. So the story I had is I worked with a lady yesterday who kind of had a similar trajectory and career that I did. She decided to go full blown into nursing and committed to that for a long time. Eventually realized it wasn't for her, And I think a lot of people kind of felt that in nursing and just any type of like medical industry with the whole COVID thing going on. And now she's trying to figure out what to do with her time. Does she want to start a business? Is there a different career trajectory she wants to get into? A lot of different options. Well, we met for the first time yesterday, and really what we've figured out is a couple of different areas for her to just set some goals, have some things that she's going to go out there and explore and sink her teeth into, because she's gotten really in the habit of not taking action. It's almost like analysis paralysis. And she's got some commitments, and also we're focusing on her time management and a couple different things that help provide her with some structure. Because anybody that knows, if you just start like a business or a passion project, if you're going from corporate or some type of hours and it's a very like structured thing externally, when you begin to make your own thing happen, you've got to develop your own structure, discipline, mindset, just all of it goes in. So I'm really excited to be scratching the surface with her on that.
That's huge. That's huge. And again, the work that we do with people helps them get those breakthroughs, right? And just,
Absolutely.
get a chance to, again, design the life that they want. That's why we do this show, The Good Life, right? It's helping people design their life. So kudos to you on that side. On the financial side, my client story or, client takeaway, again, always having financial conversations. And it's great to have these conversations with people. I often tell people I'm privy to like lift up the hood under people's financial life, right? Like most people don't get that opportunity to really see what's happening underneath it all. And I always try to explain to people that everyone's kind of in the same spot or dealing with similar things around money. And so that's why these client takeaways and these stories are very simple for me, because a lot of these things resonate with everybody, right? And so just had a quick meeting with a young lady who's learning her money. She's learning her money, right? And that's a place that a lot of us are in, learning our money. And a lot of times when we're learning our money, it's really learning our lives, right? It's learning the transitions in our lives. It's learning like the emotional things that we do with money and all those types of things. That's what we're actually learning. And so she had a classic conversation with me of, oh, I have a spending problem, right? How many people say that out there? I have a spending problem. Right. Exactly. Right. Because it's so many people. It's so many people. Rena even knows, right? Everyone really is dealing with the same things. I'm glad you know that, right? Because it's so true. Everybody's dealing with the same stuff. And so she had this conversation with me about having a spending problem, and she'd been working with me for a little bit. So we've been tracking the money and looking at where the money's going. And we're still seeing that, like, even though we're tracking, it's high, it's over budget, right? And we're having the conversations about being softer with the language that we use for ourselves, right? Especially when it comes to money. A lot of shame around it, a lot of guilt, a lot of like, oh, why am I bad with this? Or why do I do these things? And kind of beat ourselves up. And it doesn't allow us to actually get better. So instead, what I had her do, and this is the recommendation for everybody, is kind of switch how you're thinking about the problem, so to speak, and switch it to something that is actually going to excite you. So I talked about her vision. A lot of times when we believe we have a spending problem or some type of problem with money, it's often because our vision for what we need to use money for or what we want it for is not big enough, right? And so if you knew that if you got to $1.2 million, you could live financially free for the rest of your life, and that was the only thing that you cared about, you would find a way to make that important, and you would save money and you would do the things necessary and invest in order to get there. That's why when people say they want to save for a house and they never save a bunch of money, now all of a sudden they save a ton. They save 40 grand. They put a down payment on the house because that was like their big vision. So we all have examples like that. And so I showed her like, hey, you have an example of those things in your life, paying off student debt, but now you got to have a bigger goal, bigger vision. So that was a huge key. And the other thing that I talked to her about was that the beforehand, when you are going through that place where you are spending emotionally, for some people it's shopping, for some people it's gambling, for some people it's alcohol, for some people it's weed, like whatever it is that you do that you spend money on, think about where you're at emotionally before you do that spending. Because normally, again, our money habits are run by our emotions. So if you can figure out like what you're thinking and what you're feeling and those types of things. And maybe we can redirect some of those feelings. Instead of spending the money in places that you'll regret, maybe we can find other ways to get that same feeling, or right, alleviate that feeling. Then we have some solutions. So it's not always just a problem, but we have to learn to attack it and be kinder and have more grace with ourselves, to know that everybody has a thing and everyone's dealing with the same stuff. But we just have to now work towards getting better in those areas. It's not an excuse. It's just the ability to get better. So I know that a lot of people are dealing with that out there. A lot of people deal with it. And that was just one of the takeaways I had this week from our client story. So,
well, thanks for the share on that. I am curious. It seems I have a cicada that just entered the chat. Can you hear this?
yeah, I can actually.
This is wild. I'm gonna have to like bang on my window and get this guy to go away. But
if I see you popping in and out of the screen,
yeah,
then I'll know what's up.
Yeah, let me like try and get this guy to go away, because as much as we want just a placeholder for Kobi, we don't want the cicada to really do that thing right now.
In the meantime, I will talk to the lovely audience on LinkedIn, and again, everyone that's following and listening to us. Again, the reason why we're doing the show, The Good Life, talk about health, wealth, and mindset, the things that you need to get and obtain the life that you want, whatever that means for you, And again, we've been holding the show for over a year now. We've done a few events. If you actually see on the if you actually see on the screen, we got a Facebook group that you can join if you need some more access to us. We're more than happy to jump in and have these conversations around health, wealth, mindset, relationships, all the things that we need. And we want to just, again, continue to give value. So we've been doing a lot of this type of stuff, right? And this is just hilarious.
I know, read it.
I know, right? We got people in the chat.
Dude, I just, cicada entered the chat. I don't know. I did win the battle. He's left. I don't think he's coming back. So
I'm glad you won that. You won that.
Cicadas are not our target audience here on LinkedIn, believe it or not. But there were a couple of things that I wanted to address from your story that I thought were pretty cool. Yeah. One, like, no matter what you're working on in life, whether it's money, health, mindset, business, whatever, like if you're focused just on the problem and you're down in the weeds, it does feel like a very like negatively charged experience. Like you're trying to like stop yourself from doing some type of action that is providing you with some type of positive benefit, right? I mean, the reason why we do spend, or we do engorge ourselves in food, or we just kind of take like some days to escape reality, right? Like we do these things because they serve us in a positive way. They help us out in the moment. But when you start talking about that vision, whether it's a certain level of financial security, a certain type of business, a state of mind, like the six-pack abs, whoever. I probably get in trouble from Kobi for saying that.
Oh, Dad.
But whatever it is, if you visualize that, it makes it a more fun experience. So I'm glad that you touched on the emotions and like the vision associated with that, because especially with money, like the relationship with money is so delicate for a lot of different people out there, especially if you've been in the habit of like taking that morphine drip of a paycheck for a job that you don't like. Your relationship with money is going to be a little strange. Kind of feels weird going from employee to entrepreneur in that aspect.
It's huge. It's one of the biggest reasons that people struggle to go from employee to entrepreneur, right? We're here on LinkedIn, but everywhere around, people are looking at this great resignation and talking a lot about how people are just transitioning. There's a lot of transitioning happening. I feel like we've been talking about this for a year or two, right? But it's still just the same place. There's a lot of transitioning happening. And that paycheck, that connection, that need, that security you find in money, that people find in money, is normally one of the toughest things to break away from as you switch over to being that full business owner, that entrepreneur, that person that starts their business, right? It takes a switch in mindset a bit. So
it took me a while.
Yeah.
It was a big struggle, and there's still things that I'm ironing out. But I mean, I remember like the first year was crazy. It's literally like an identity shift. Like no longer is work this thing that I have to get to by a certain time, or you know, like whatever the deadlines are, somebody's gonna be breathing down my neck. Like, damn, now I got to be much more of a self-starter. So it's a pretty interesting transition, and you know, I think it's cool that we kind of help guide people through that, all in our own avenues, right? Like, I can't remember the exact source of this, but the idea of self improvement or connecting with oneself, or you know, achieving your potential. Everybody kind of starts through a different medium. I think a lot of people just start through the gym. Like that's like the first thing that they walk into is they start crushing at the gym, and then they start seeing, wow, over time, I can apply these small habits over time and really see a lot of changes. And that leads them to believe that they could do that in other areas of their life.
Totally. So true. Rena asked the question, are you where you thought you'd be? It's a great question.
It is a great question. You know, I'll go ahead and dive in on that one first. I actually had very little expectations of where this was going to go. So it's tough for me to answer this one. I would say I am much better off than where I thought I would be starting off. Because starting off, it was rough. I started right in the middle of the pandemic, never ran a business before, had a lot of networking, big reputation shift from construction management to coaching. And right now, I would say I've definitely exceeded my expectations for 2 years out.
That's awesome, man. It's crazy. So on my side, almost 10 years in, right? Nine, almost 10 years in, to answer the same question, Rena, like I'm not where I thought I would be. Like I thought I'd be way further.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be way further, right? Like it's one of those things where you start to appreciate the journey and you start to appreciate kind of, you know, the lessons that you're learning and the things that have to fall in line and the changes you have to make. But like if someone would have told me like, nah, you know, it's like this, like, and then it's way down, and then you got to climb up, and then it's gonna come back. Like, you don't really think about those things all the way through, um, but it is a steady like up. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
your life gets better over time. The income flows more, but like it doesn't come. It doesn't come right away. It doesn't come right away, and it's such a falsity uh, in entrepreneurship in the way people depict it a lot of times is that it's supposed to come right away. It's actually not. It's not supposed to come right away. It's supposed to be a lesson. It's supposed to be more difficult. When you are designing and creating and going out and doing something outside of the traditional system, so to speak, right? Because again, the model of go to school, get good grades, get a good job, stay at the job, right? It's kind of the system, so to speak. So doing something outside of the system, creating a business, starting something, being creative, building infrastructure around it, selling it, those things, it's a little out of the box. And so we don't always understand how to go do that. And so there's a learning curve. And so it takes some time. It takes some time. Now, once you get it rolling and you start to understand some of the principles, it can move faster. And it's that compounding that actually happens. It's the consistency. We were just having that conversation off camera, right? Like in our like own pregame, we were talking about, you know, one of the things that I kind of pride myself on is consistency, right? It's just showing up, is just doing the work over and over and over again, no matter how small, how right tedious, just do it over and over and over again. And the compounding of that will absolutely like manifest into whatever you want,
For
right?
sure. For sure. And I think, you know, I'm thinking back. I remember being like so cocky with how easy this whole thing was going to be. Like, oh, how tough could it be? I'll just go start this business. I'll just go build a new community out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, it was like the first, I would say 9 months were just like, what do I do? Nothing's working. You're putting out fires all the time. But you mentioned those lessons learned. Like, there's just so many like character lessons, practical things, psychological things. It really is like just an adventure. And Rena's just like crushing it with questions right now. So the other one she had up there was, how are you drawing knowledge from other generations? I love this question because I actually work with my parents a lot as like kind of like consultants. My mom is also my like accountant. So unlike Chris, I am not known for consistency. So I've had to actually build that over the last 2 years because I've always been much more of a, if I'm outside of work, if I'm doing my own thing, I'm going with the flow, I'm spontaneous. very quick to change plans, etc. And you can't do that when you run a business. There might be some functions you can do that with, but if there's like anybody else involved, required back end work, it's very different. So for me personally, I definitely have pulled a lot from the boomers in my family regarding consistency, just like professionalism. What else? I guess just recognizing how differently that generation approaches professionalism in business and comparing it to perhaps the millennial generation, you just see all these pros and cons. And you can, like, through this comparison process, you're able to simply see like what I want to pick and choose from both cultures.
It's huge. It's
Yay,
huge.
boomers.
Yay, boomers. And again, great. It's a great question. This is why we, again, love doing the show, is because we all have a different perspective from our respective industries and what we do. I work with both sides. So talk about drawing knowledge from other generations. In the financial world, I work with both sides. I work with the boomers. I work with the millennials. I start working with whatever Gen Z, whatever comes after the millennials, right? Like,
Gen Z, yeah.
yeah, it's Gen Z, right? We're always confused about these labels. But I work with all of them. And in order to serve somebody properly, you have to understand them. You have to understand what they're going through and their issues and what they value. So I draw knowledge from generations just about how they view money. Everybody views money differently. Back to what you were saying, Stu, about, our relationship with money, right? Our relationship with money, it starts at an early age, but then we continue to build it and we keep developing this relationship. So a boomer is going to have a different relationship with their money. I'm having a lot of conversations with them right now about looking at the stock market, right? It's not a pleasant time for boomers right now that have large amounts of assets sitting in the stock market. It's just not a good time. They're not they're not feeling the greatest. So we have to start having those conversations about what they think of in security, what that means, what retirement means, what lifestyle means. Like, we just to start finding out what they think about, right? And then on the other side of that, you take the millennials, you take us, right? We're in between. We don't really want to buy homes anymore, and inflation's high, and we're hearing all this money stuff from all over the place. And I'm trying to think about how people are taking in financial information. So that's how I draw, information from our generation, is like hearing what people are talking about. Right? Crypto people are very silent right now, but we love them. Right? We love them. It's all good. It's all good, right?
Big difference from January.
Big difference, right?
Yeah.
And we don't come out and say, "I told you so." That's not what we do here on the show. But like, understand, right? Principles are the same. Like, principles repeat themselves, and right, people go into the gold rush. And again, principles of money. When people are being greedy, you be fearful. When people are fearful, you be greedy. Right? And so we're seeing everything flip flop now. And so that's what's happening with the millennials. And then, right, you get the Gen Z, like, they are seeing money. They just kind of the I don't know what this demographic is, but like 14 to 7, 13 to 17, 12 to 18, whatever that demographic is, right? They've been seeing money over the past 3, 4, 5 years. As they're coming into money knowledge, they're seeing it differently. It's like, it's moving quicker. Like, they see crypto and NFTs and working from home, and somebody being a YouTube star and popping out on TikTok, like, people, you know what I mean? Like, they're seeing this real time. So they're thinking about money in a completely different way. I saw a random TikTok today that said, it was some younger person saying something like, "What happens at a desk job? Like, what happens at a desk job? Everyone talks about a desk job. What happens there? Like, someone tell me." Right? Like, and it's
not much fun,
right? Exactly.
In my opinion. Yeah.
In no one's opinion, but it's funny to know that, like, there's gonna be some 18-year-old that doesn't actually ever have a desk job.
Man, right? That is an interesting experience. I'm glad I've had it, just for like the gratitude of where I'm at now. I mean, getting to have cool conversations and just be a part of all of that, rather than like getting stuck doing paperwork from time to time between going out to the project. Like, big transition for me. Rena, to kind of carry on with your question, I think on the mindset side, observing the way that someone born in 1948, aka my parents, thinks about money, stability, security, prioritizes perhaps money over time until that retirement era hits. And then what's really crazy is like, Chris kind of nailed it. Like right now, it's not a good time to be relying on investments in the stock market as you are about to exit the workforce. Like scary times. So for a millennial or somebody younger, you can kind of ride this out a little bit. We have, the rest of our working lives ahead of us. But on the mindset side, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, right? So mental health awareness did not exist for my parents. It is still taboo. They can't even believe that I have a profession that revolves around this in some capacity. Like, what do you mean you exchange knowledge, time, education, and like coaching for money? Like, what is that? Like, I can't see it. I can't touch it. So it's very different. So it's very interesting what you can learn, because it's very much a generation of like, just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like, I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It doesn't really matter how it affects my health or if I actually enjoy it once I committed to it. Like this is the route I'm choosing. So there's a lot of like grit that I feel like we can really learn from boomers, that can transfer over to how you approach mental health and just living. But there's also a lot of things to do differently that I really like. The fact that we can actually open up about this, the fact that men can show their emotions, which happened for the first time for a client of mine earlier this week. He actually let somebody witness him going through sadness. And it just took all of this pressure off of him that he could actually show up that way and still maintain a connection that hasn't changed energetically. So it's pretty cool. A really great question, kind of looking back in time like that.
And she's pumped for Mental Health Month, by the way, right? She's pumped for it. She's pumped for it. And it's so true. Boomers definitely had grit. Absolutely, they did. And if there's something that they passed down, it was that grit for sure.
And you know what, Rena, you are right. I'm sorry, Chris. I just got so hyped off of this. Men who show emotions are cool.
It's a new era, right? It's a new era. It's a new era. It wasn't cool back in the day, apparently. It might have been cool. Somebody could have just started the wave, but
I think raging was cool. Just yelling at people was the cool thing to do. Like, oh wow, that guy's really masculine. Look at that guy. Yeah,
that guy's cool.
Yeah,
look at him.
Man, I want that guy to be my boss.
Man, how times have changed, right? How times have changed, and the information that we have and the education that we have to have a better life. It's kind of what all this is about, right? Like just having a better life. Enjoying life more, doing more things that are pleasing for you and the outcomes that you want to make in your life. Again, if Kobi were here, he would give us a ton of info and knowledge on how this is affecting people's health and how us paying attention to what we're consuming, our gut, our breath, right, our movement. If we pay attention to these things, we can actually live a better life, like have more energy. The things that we're dealing with, we don't have to deal with. We don't have to deal with.
Hey, there you go, Unc.
I think this stuff is powerful, and the work that you do with all generations is super, super powerful. So
thanks, man. You too. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have such great synergy. And the other thing we were talking about regarding synergy was how important family is to all of us. And one of the cool things about having family be so important is we are literally learning from our elders. Like that has been a massive part of the whole process. So I always like to highlight that. We've talked a lot about changing times, and our potential topic for today was the Great Resignation. People going in droves from the corporate 9-to-5 to some type of remote lifestyle, whether it's freelancing, starting a side hustle, just kind of quitting their job and going ham in a business direction. There's a lot happening right now. And as we do this, it really touches on some of the stuff I highlighted earlier, like how are you taking control and ownership over your own structure, discipline? How are you measuring your progress? What are your key performance indicators? There's a lot of ways to track this stuff. But when you first think about becoming a freelancer, a business owner, whatever, it's all up here. How do you actually build systems that support you through this process? That's always a good question to reflect on if you're thinking about starting something. Absolutely. Better Call Day, Rena.
No, Rena has an awesome podcast. We're going to give her some love on here. Her podcast is about Learning from Elders. That's what she said, from learning from elders. And it's called Better Call Daddy. Would love to. I mean, we're here on LinkedIn. We'll get a chance to link it up and kind of have some conversation about it, because it sounds awesome. It sounds like something that we would talk about here on The Good Life, right? So we appreciate you, Rena, jumping on the live today and giving some conversation. We're more than happy to check out that podcast, because learning from elders is incredibly important, right? It's incredibly important. They have the wisdom. And they pass it down. So
They do. And like, everybody has different pros and cons. Like even if someone's out there like disagreeing with every single one of the ways that you were raised or your parents approach life, you can learn from some of those things. And as you get older and you put aside your ego, you may realize that there were a lot of things that they actually did that made a lot of sense. I think for me, that was probably one of the toughest ones, is letting my ego move off to the side so I could actually begin to listen to my parents actively without actually judging everything they were telling me because I had different beliefs.
That's huge. It's incredibly important to be able to kind of see things with a different lens, right? Just the way somebody grew up, or somebody, the environment that they were raised in, will dictate kind of how they operate, and you might not operate in that manner. I honestly, to tie this back in, like, I think that's what's happening in the Great Resignation that everyone's talking about. I think there's this shift of like, it was supposed to be this way, or this is how we were told it should be this way, valuing money over time, right? Being kind of uncomfortable in this position at a desk job. But now, do we have to do it that way? I think that's really what's happening. It's just, we talk a lot about awareness on the show, right, Stu? We talk about people just becoming aware of habits, aware of mindsets, aware of kind of what's happening. And I think that's what has happened over the past 2-3 years that has led to this Great Resignation, is really just the awareness of, could I have a better quality of life? Could I make more money, see my family more, get a better opportunity, be more advanced in my career, get closer to my end destination, move away from the city I'm in? Like, everyone's just questioning a lot of things, and it's a shift. And I think that that's what we're seeing in this, shift from corporate work to entrepreneurship, or even just to remote work, right?
Yeah, for sure. It honestly is like COVID just dropped a red pill in so many different people's lives. Like, it just got you thinking out of necessity. Like, okay, like, it's so easy just to go from the day to day and just stay in that muscle memory of, okay, it's Monday through Friday, I'm going to work and I'm going to do this until I'm 65. And here's like the traditional 401k that Chris loves to talk about and just as that controversial topic.
Right.
And all of a sudden everything changes. And when you take somebody and you change their environment for the first time, you may be introducing that person to just reflection on, why am I doing the things I'm doing? Do I even like this? And I think a lot of people found out the answer was no.
That's right. That's right. So then it's like, what do you do? What do you do when you find out the answer is no? You take ownership. Again, another topic we talk a ton about here on the show. Once you're like, I don't really like this part of my life. I don't really like the way this is. All right, so what do? You take ownership of it. Take ownership and say, okay, well, what changes can I make? What is it that we need to do? This is something that we've talked about on the show, and we'll give this again as value to you guys. Like, you just have to be open-minded enough to hear other ideas and experience other things and go down different paths. That's really the key to it. You have to retool, get a new skill set, but really just find out the things that you're good at, that you like, that you want to do, and you can have a better quality of life. You can start to design your life, right? If you get really skilled or serious about a certain area, a certain topic, a certain industry, something that you really want to do, you can find ways to design your life around that thing.
You really can.
Yeah. Go for it.
No, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. You just hyped me up right there.
No. It's true though.
Yeah. Like, I just think that it was so unfathomable that you could actually create something around something that you love. Like, that whole idea of a dream job really felt like a dream. That's almost why it was called a dream job. Mm-hmm. Like, when people pose the question, like, what would you do if like money didn't matter? Well, guess what? Money still matters. And now people are realizing that you can actually still figure that out because of advancements like the internet, being able to stay connected, Zoom. Here we are doing like a live show. I mean, there's just so many things happening where boomers or anybody else back in that direction just could never have imagined how easy it would be just to get out there and not just sell a service or a product to the people geographically close to you, but they could be all over the world. So it's just such a different landscape now that I think it's just fascinating to see where this is going to continue to go.
Yeah. And again, that's why that's why these generations are so different, because we're seeing things differently and we know things are changing. And it's important to just kind of figure out how we're changing with it. You know, we talked about not backing away from technology. A lot of times people push against technology and against the things that are moving forward. But guess what? That's probably going to hold you back long term. So we got to kind of ride with the tidal wave. Rena asked another great question on here. When did you first recognize something that you like to do? It's a good question. When did you first recognize like something that you like, maybe even something that you're good at, right? I'll go first because I know right away, like I did not, some of you know the story, or if not, like you, right, we can chat about it. I used to be in the restaurant world. So I come from hospitality. And so in hospitality, I meet a lot of people in hospitality or from the restaurant, hotel world that technically are like introverted. They don't really like talking to people, or so they say, but you're kind of forced to, right? You're kind of forced to in those industries. You're forced to walk up to someone, you're forced to talk. And so that was kind of me. I didn't think that I liked talking to people, but then eventually being in the restaurant world and being in hospitality, I started to realize I had a knack for communicating with people. And I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the interaction. And I'll never forget, shout out to Bubba Gump Shrimp and Company, right? Bubba Gump Shrimp and Company. I had a job there for a little bit of time. And they used to be able to stack their waters on top of the cups. I don't know if you've ever been there, but like the cups.
No,
so the cups had slits in them that you could literally stack the cups all the way up. So you could walk around the dining room like with a bunch of cups, right? And I would always do that type of stuff just to get the reaction, just to get the people to talk, or right, get a bigger tip or whatever it was. So I started to realize that that was something that I really enjoyed. Got introduced to finance in the financial services world, more in the coaching planning side, also in insurance. And I realized that this is just another people business. Just another people business. You get a chance to really connect with people on the things that are super important to them, right? And that became the thing that I realized, like, man, I really enjoy this people aspect of things. And that's like, I learned it from hospitality, from restaurants, but it's just kind of carried over. And like I said, the compounding of dealing with people, right? It really starts to show that that's something that I enjoyed. So, man, that was a while ago. I was probably 20 years old when I started realizing I liked people.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it might have been last week or something where we were actually talking about how everything is a people's business. Like,
Yeah.
and that compounding effect you mentioned, like I'll often get people just stopping me, like we'll be like hanging out and they'll ask me, how do you get on live all the time? It's like, well, I look like an idiot for a couple of times and I just, you just keep going. Like it's just, you just start. And when you just keep dealing with people, it just gets easier and easier. So like in the restaurant industry, absolutely. For me on the construction side, people everywhere, job sites of all different sizes, different types of cultures, no cup stacking, but there was like, just different ways to interact with people, and you take that into your business. If you want to be a freelancer or if you want to be a business owner, don't underestimate the people part. Don't shy away from it. Like I understand it may not feel natural to a lot of people, especially those more introverted, but you have to find the threshold of how much energy you have to put into that connection so you can build that KLT factor and really like generate some relationships, etc. I think to answer your question, the first time I realized, let's just go with coaching, that I realized I wanted to help kind of build minds rather than build structures. That's like the cheesy thing I said when I was transitioning from construction to coaching. I realized that specifically when I was doing a mentoring program at about age, I want to say 24, helping like people fresh out of college go through a rotational program to figure out what it's like to be in construction management, the practical skills, the just the people skills, all of it. And that's when I was like, man, I enjoy this way more than I like building stuff. To answer your question, the KLT factor is know, like, and trust. So if you are hoping to attract leads, to attract clients, to for a service or a good, etc., people want to know, like, and trust you before they do business with you. So that's what I mean by KLT. Very, very important thing to focus on when you're trying to develop your marketing and find your voice when it comes to talking to your audience. But yeah, to go back to the original, I think doing that for corporate made me realize, why don't I do this on my own? And that was when the seed was planted. And then, fast forward 4 years and I finally pulled the trigger.
That's huge. That's huge. Everybody's got that journey, right? Like that destination, that kind of story of how they transition, and learning what was important or what your skill set was or what resonated with you. It's important. Rena, I'd be curious to hear your answer to that same question of when did you first recognize it's something, something that you like to do. I'm going to put this up there just to keep you out of your comfort zone. You said lives are out of your comfort zone. Well, here on The Good Life, right, we push people out of their comfort zones a ton, right? So nothing grows in our comfort zone. We all know that. So the fact that you do it occasionally is a good thing. Encourage you to do it more, because the more you do it, the more you grow, the more you step out of that comfort zone and get to that woman that you're designed to be. That's how this works. And so I appreciate you even saying that's out of your comfort zone, because we have so much that is out of our comfort zone. And if we choose to then attack it and kind of go at it, good things are going to happen. So
yeah, the attacking the piece is huge. I mean, I can't speak for Chris, but I know for me personally, I used to be terrified of lives, and I just started doing it. And my whole mentality just became, man, I'm just going to go out and it's going to happen. I'm going to wing it. It's going to go great. It's not going to be great. I'm not going to have expectations. I think if someone out there is considering going live for the first time and you hop on the screen, you're not sure what to say, one of my favorite things to recommend is start by saying, I've never done this before. This is weird. I'm talking to a camera for the first time in my life, and I have no idea what's going to come from it. So, and honestly, invitation, Rena, like if you ever want to go live with me and Chris, like we'd be happy just to chop it up with you. It can be a lot easier to start going live with somebody else. Actually, one of the first series I did on Instagram Live was Mindset Matters, and that kind of pun behind the word matters. And when you bring somebody else on, I always had a guest. You have somebody to talk to. It's not just you talking to a camera. It can just really, really help. It can just really help actually like getting out there and realizing that, so what if we have a grammatical pause or an somewhere? Like, it's all good. It's live. There's a different expectation.
Absolutely. And you get more used to it as you go. But it's important, again, in business and in life, to just get comfortable being the person that you are. And most importantly, when you have a great message, when you have a great mission, when you can actually go out and help people, you have to talk about it. You got to communicate it. There's people that need, if you are in a business that serves other people, if you're a coach, if you're in something where you're a leader and in a leadership position, you have to get, privy to this information that allows you to continue to grow, continue to push, continue to step out of that comfort zone, because that's how we have more capacity to do the things that we need to do, either as business owners, entrepreneurs, or even those that are, high executives in companies, right? Whenever you're in a leadership position, whether you're leading yourself or an organization, you have to have some of these things. You have to be able to know how to manage your mind and control your finances, right? And have good health. Like, all of these things are important. So again, that's what we're here doing. Stu, kind of give some final thoughts, man. What are this, again, whether it's Great Resignation, whether it's just people's relationship with transitions or whatever, but give some of your kind of final thoughts for today.
Absolutely. I think the first thing, and you kind of touched on it with that word grow. Growth mindset is huge. We used to talk about growth mindset almost every episode when we started this podcast. Because if you're really hoping to be that leader or to go out there and do your own thing, you have to be in a growth mindset. You have to be comfortable recognizing the things you know, the things you don't know, and be aware of the fact that there are things you don't know that you don't know. Like, that combination of things, if you continuously stay in that space, you are going to excel. It's the people that actually sit back and get comfortable that all of a sudden the rest of the industry catches up. So I think staying in that growth mindset is huge. And I think as a final giveaway, for anybody kind of dealing with this great resignation of going from employee to entrepreneur, who's dealing with, where do you even begin? How do you deal with your time? How do you hold yourself accountable? I'm actually hosting a workshop about time management, scheduling, and project management on May 31st, 7:30 Eastern. Hit me up if you're interested, because it's going to be a free thing. It's a total giveaway of just what I've seen a lot of different students, business owners, freelancers, just any type of remote situation. It is a challenge to go from having an external source to being internally motivated and disciplined. So that's what that's for. So open invitation out there.
It's awesome. Take them up on that, guys. If you're listening to this, take them up on that. Obviously, you've been rocking with Stu for some time. He's got a ton of knowledge on these things, and he's going to be able to get you to where you got to go. So take them up on that workshop. It's a giveaway. Again, we're giving away value. We have our Good Life event that we're planning out. It's coming up in July. We haven't released the date yet, but we will soon. Again, making sure that everyone is on the right path for getting their health, wealth, mindset, relationships all in order. Rena said, send me the link. So you got one right there. And everyone else that's listening, that's paying attention, again, whatever you need, whatever things that you need to get you to where you have to go in life, you have to go out and get them. There are resources out there. Stu, myself, Kobi, we're resources for you, so that if you're lacking in any of these areas, or you just have some things that you need to talk over or maybe see clearly on, we're here to help. We're here to help.
Absolutely. Well put, Chris.
For sure. So take us home, Stu.
All right. Well, so everybody out there, that's it for us today. First time on LinkedIn in a while. Happy to be back. If you guys like what you heard, subscribe, smash that like button. Tune in next Monday for another good episode. That's when they're dropping. And share with someone that would either love or hate this episode, because all press is good press, which we're seeing a lot of these days. So until next time, keep living the good life. Happy to be back, LinkedIn. See you guys later.
Take care, LinkedIn.